So all of us, if given the option, would love for our church's YouTube channels to be searchable, discoverable, and engage with many people. The question is, how could we actually do that? And so today on Practical Church Planting, we are going to give you 8 tips to drastically improve your church's YouTube channel.
Well, thanks for joining us again today on Practical Church Planting. Today we're going to be giving you 8 YouTube tips to drastically improve your channel.
And this is not hyperbole or hyperbole. How do you say it? Hyperbole?
Hyperbole. You got it.
This is like legitimate things that we have done recently that you can do.
Yep.
So before we get into it, just a reminder, if you're planting or in the process of planting, go to practicalplanting.com/launch to get our Growing Your Launch Team course. We're going to be very practical on YouTube today.
Yep.
That course gives you an actual workable plan of how you actually plant a church. We've heard a lot of great things about it, and we would commend it to you. So practicalplanting.com/launch to grow your launch team. Second thing, and this has to do with YouTube, is I would suggest, Practical Church Planting has a YouTube channel where we do the videos versions.
Sure do.
But you also can go to our church's YouTube channel, which is New City RDU. That's ours, because we're going to talk about what you can do. And in this podcast, we pride ourselves in saying things that are not just theoretical or not just only big churches can do it. Mm-hmm. What we're going to do today is tell you, regardless of the size of your church, you can literally do all 8 of these things.
Yes.
And our church is not big, so all the stuff that you see on our channel, New City RDU, like and subscribe, of course, you can implement. Now, if you're listening to this later, so I don't know, 6 months, a year after this episode comes out, a lot of things change. So some of the things we talk about how we might be doing right now might be different, but a lot of these principles are still the same. Yeah. So I think it would be helpful if you would just go to New City RDU, look at our channel, because it's easily implementable. And then you can kind of copy those things. Also, I would say we're not going to walk you through the details of how to do each of these 8 things, but literally if you Google each of these 8 things, it's super easy. It's just hard for us to kind of explain, but we'll tell you why these things are important and they're super easy to do.
Perfect.
So 8 things. Now I want to say this to you as well, that one of my biggest regrets, and I like legitimate regrets about New City Church, is that up until about a month or 2 ago, we didn't do any of these.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. It was like church goals, whatever. So one of the things I was working on is making our YouTube channel better. And we've been doing YouTube stuff forever, different videos, different things. And we've never done anything. We've always just upload the video.
Upload and go.
Upload the sermon.
Yep.
Have a title. And that's it. And I don't know, partially maybe I thought it was complicated, which you'll find it's really not. And partially I just didn't think about it. And I'm like, we've been doing this for 4 years and I don't know. I feel like we've really missed out.
Yeah.
And so we've changed some things. So what's interesting is if you go to our channel right now, you can scroll through some of our videos and you can see this change.
Yeah.
And so I would say I wish I had, and again, you only know what you can do. If you're planting right now, I would make YouTube a big thing of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And yes, it's true that people might search your channel and find your channel that don't live in your area, but it just gives you more credibility. If people are searching for churches in your area and they see you and you have 30 subscribers, or you have 150, or you have 200, or whatever. It kind of gives credibility. It makes your stuff, come up more. It's a second largest search engine after Google, which Google owns YouTube. And so just making you more searchable in your area. I can't believe I never thought of this before. Yeah. So massive regret. We're here to help you not do the same thing.
But it's not too late.
It's
never too late.
So we're implementing these things, and we'll see some changes, and so will you do. So here are 8 tips to drastically improve your channel. Some of these might be more familiar than others, but again, you can literally do 7 of 8 of these today, regardless of the size of your church. And the other one, if you do the other 7, will not be far behind, I promise you.
And this is all stuff that even if you're a one-man team, you can do all of it. This is not like you have to wait until you have a staff or volunteers to help out. You can do every one of these things.
Leads to all of my regret as I was looking. I'm like, man, we could have done all of this so much before because it's not complicated.
Yeah.
So here we go. And what's funny is after you do these things, you realize all YouTube channels are the exact same. That's what I found. Yeah. They all do the exact same things. So without further ado, here we go. Number 1. I don't know if we've ever built up.
I don't know.
So much.
The anticipation must be killing.
Here we go. Number 1, you need to update your header image. So on YouTube, you have a little header image thing. And again, all of this, look at New Cities as you're doing this. If you're listening to this on a podcast, maybe, whenever you get home or whatever, pull it up. You can see how we do it all on ours. But you need a header image because you can add a header image to YouTube. The thing about it is different desktop, computer, whatever, or mobile, whatever, it looks differently. So again, if you just Google YouTube header image size, they'll tell you not only the size but where you need to place things so that all of this stuff is seen. My recommendation is just a clean and simple image. So it doesn't need to be busy. It doesn't need to be a lot of information. For us, I believe it's our logo on one side, New City Church in the middle, and then on the other side it says new videos every week, and that's it. It just looks clean and it looks like you put it together. I've seen a lot of churches do different things. Like some churches, like bigger churches, will say, like Sundays at whatever, and they'll list their service times, which is their live stream.
Yeah.
I personally probably wouldn't recommend that, especially if you're smaller, because people might assume that you only do live videos, or you only do a video. Like a lot of people don't understand maybe church stuff, and so we say new videos every week. We don't put a sermon time, which I've seen a lot of people do. I probably would recommend not doing that. And now we'll talk about video consistency. What you should actually post. But even if it's just your logo and your church name, just make sure it looks clean. You can copy what we did. It's just very clean and modern or whatever. But you need to update your header image so when people click on it, it looks legitimate.
Yeah, this is. I'm glad you said about how it has different kind of safe areas for mobile. I think tablet and then desktop. Because if you use for some of these things, if you're a one-man team, you can use Canva to design some of these things, and they have pre-made dimensions in there. So you could literally log in and search YouTube header image, and it'll give you the dimensions, which I think we've done in the past. However, that doesn't account for the kind of safe areas and different things. Right. So you may do it on your computer and it looks great, and you think you're good, and not realize that if you pull it up on your phone, it's just going to have this little chunk of it, and it's going to look really terrible.
Yep.
So make sure to, it's going to look weird, I guess, when you design it first, because it's going to have a lot of white space or a lot of blank space. But make sure to check it out afterwards on phone, on all the different devices that you can possibly do, just to make sure it fits in those dimensions. But take a look at what it says for the safe area, and that'll be your guide of where to go.
Yeah, and to be clear, you only have to make one image. So it might sound like you don't have to make multiple, but you have to make it in a way that all of your text and graphics or whatever are seen on every different platform. So again, if you just Google, YouTube header image, it'll tell you where to put it, and then you can use whatever you want to use. But update your header image, even if it's not professionally done, just make it look clean. Put your logo on it, because it looks a lot better when someone's going to your channel for the first time.
And I guess we'll probably say this a bunch. We already have, but to check out our YouTube channel, New City RDU. And I think most of the time when we'd say stuff like this, we'd be well, ours isn't. We don't want to toot our own horn. Ours isn't great, but you can see it as an example. But honestly, if you do these things, it's great. And so we do, so it's good. It's not it's yes, we can always be improving. We're still working on things, and we want to always improve it. But if you implement these things, it will be good.
Yeah.
And so I don't, this is the one time I don't feel weird about us saying ours is good, so you should check it out. And it's not because we did anything great, it's just because we found all these steps and did them. Yeah,
I mean, if you went to our YouTube channel, you would assume we were a normal church doing a great job with it.
Right.
It's just because there's a lot of basic foundational things. And again, for us, when I started looking into this stuff, I'm looking at big churches, but it's just you're not that.
Yeah.
But you can do all the stuff that we're saying here. So update your header image. Use ours if you want, and just change what you have for your stuff. That's the first thing. Number 2 is that you want to record a short welcome video. So you can set it to where, if someone goes to your page for the first time, what is the first video that they see? Again, if you're on YouTube, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. We would recommend probably 60 seconds or less. I mean, not probably, definitely.
Yeah.
Again, you can watch ours. It's not great. It's me standing right where we're recording this, just saying, I don't even know what I said. Hey, thanks for checking out the channel. My name is Dylan. I'm the lead pastor. Every week we record, we share videos, encourage you in faith. Check us out online, whatever. It's super short. Some little background music behind it. If you don't have background music, that's okay, although it's really easy to add.
Very easy.
But just a simple and a short welcome video. So when people click it, it automatically plays. They see a person. Now you can change this is not on here, but you can change it in your YouTube settings that if somebody subscribes, they no longer see that video. They can watch another video of yours. But you want to record a short welcome video, which doesn't take any time. It can be a single shot, doesn't have to have a lot of graphics or anything. Welcome people to your channel, saying who you are, who your church is, and what they can expect to find. Again, if you just literally want to take what we have, because it's not unique to us, just do that and have a welcome video on your site.
And the thing about if you're new to video or nervous about it or whatever, graphics and stuff can be nice, but they are nowhere near as important as just good sound quality.
Yep.
And clarity of what you're saying. Like if you're kind of rambling and it's long, even if you have the coolest looking images in there, people aren't going to watch it. And if your audio quality is terrible, people are probably just going to scroll away before you finish your first sentence.
Yep.
So focus on those things. And even if you use a iPhone to record it and you can get a little like lapel mic or something like that, that will do you much better than trying to spend all this time making these graphics and doing all these things. Like right now, I think ours, if I remember right, I don't think we use any graphics in it anymore. But the sound quality is great. The picture looks good. And that's all anybody cares about because it's a short video. So don't overcomplicate things. Just make sure it sounds good, make sure it looks okay, and you'll be good to go.
And the easy thing about this is all this stuff is so you can updatable. So just record something right now, and then 2 weeks later, if you figure out something else you want to say, just do another one.
Yeah.
So the same with the editor. Like none of this stuff has to be perfect. Just literally do it this week. Put on your calendar. I mean, you could do, all this stuff in like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Which, for the return on the investment, I don't know many things a church planner can do within 3 hours that will be as beneficial in the long term as this. Yeah. And so, record a short video, welcome people, tell them about your channel. Again, listen to ours if you want, and just change it for you.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think sometimes we can wait on things until we feel like we have it all figured out or it all together. But like for this one, if you don't have a welcome video today, make sure you're wearing a decent shirt and film one. Like you don't need to wait until you have it all figured out or perfectly scripted or whatever. Just start with something and then change it as you want to change it.
Yeah. So I'll record a short welcome video so people that are new to when they go to your YouTube site, they can see it.
Yep.
Number 3, organize your homepage by playlists. So, I mean, a lot of these things are recent developments. I think other than like 2 or 3 of those, we haven't done any of these until a couple months ago or a month ago or 2, whatever. So before this, it was just like all of our recent uploads was just in the order that they appeared, and that's what it was, and it didn't look organized at all. Now we have specific playlists that each of our videos go in, and you can organize them on your homepage so it looks like you've actually thought things out. So here's, again, if you're listening to this later, I don't know what our homepage will look like. As of this recording, we have a couple of playlists. The first one, after you scroll down after the main welcome video, is our recent uploads, so the order everything was there. And then after that, I don't remember the order. Not that the order matters, but we have sermons, which is just we live stream our services, but we take the sermon out and make it its own video, which highly recommend you do. Like if you upload your whole service, nobody cares unless they're watching it live. They do not care. And to be honest, unless you're like a big mega church, the quality is not going to be amazing anyway for them to want to watch it all later. And so if you do it live like we do, make sure you cut your sermon and upload the sermon as its own thing. So we have a sermon playlist. We have a Bible in a Minute playlist, we've done a lot of different stuff. What we're doing now is once a week we record talking about a Bible verse in a minute. So we have a Bible in a Minute playlist, which I don't know. Again, if you listen to this later, what we'll be doing then. We have we call it message clip, sermon clip, whatever you want to call it, like a 60 to 90 second, typically from the main point of the message, although it doesn't have to be from the sermon. We cut it out and make it its own thing. We add subtitles to it. And so like the message clip playlist, so sermon, Bible in a Minute, message clip. We have a thing called New City Stories, which every month or 2 or whatever we started doing this thing recently. We have people record how New City's impacted them. And then the last one was, for right now, I think it just says fun videos from our church.
Yep.
I don't know what we'll call it, but it's like everything else. So Father's Day, Christmas, just all the other videos that we do, it's on there. Yep. Now, recently, I went back and deleted a lot of our old videos that the quality wasn't great. And there's some other stuff that we have done that had some decent views or whatever, that it's not literally any of those things. You don't have to put all of your playlists on your homepage. So you might have stuff that doesn't necessarily fit into any of these new playlists if you reorganize your playlist, which is fine. You don't have to delete them from your channel, but they also don't have to be on your homepage. And so if you have different types of videos, make sure you're putting them in playlists, and then on your homepage you can organize, the order in which the playlists are shown. Yeah,
this is I think one that we don't necessarily realize how important it is.
And it takes no time.
It takes no time. And earlier this morning, I was looking at this other church's YouTube channel, who's a bigger church near us, an older church, but definitely has more resources than we do. And I went there just because I wanted to see what their church was like inside and stuff like that. And it was like a message and then a bunch of videos. So like it was hard to figure out where the current messages were, because then you could see that there's some, based on the thumbnail, were like COVID messages. So like because they're outside and some were inside, but then there's interspersed with like other things. And so it's hard to figure out like where the most recent message was. And then like you said, the message wasn't cut out from the service. So the way they do, I mean, I didn't watch the whole thing. It was like an hour and a half long, but it was like some music, the pastor talking, some music, the pastor talking. And so it's hard to tell like where's the sermon and where's like maybe announcements. I couldn't really tell where things were, and so I had to click through a bunch. But honestly, if it wasn't for me like literally wanting to see what this church was like, I would not have spent that much time on it. And so these are things. It's very easy to organize. If someone wants to hear a message, they should be able to go to messages or sermons or whatever you want to call it, and then they just have a whole list of them. They don't have to like filter through all the other stuff that you do.
Yep. So, and we'll talk about different videos you can do in a second. If all you're doing right now is live streaming your service or just uploading your sermon, or if you are live streaming your service, like you can just leave it up. Like we don't have a live stream folder because again, nobody at our church, nobody our size is going to want to watch our whole service unless you're watching it live. So you can do what I would recommend for now is have your uploads be up front because again, people might want to see the most recent thing, and then have it just sermons or messages or whatever you want to call them. Like that's the playlist. And if you have any other random ones, maybe they're not on your homepage or maybe you have a catch-all. But go ahead and start putting them in the playlist now because having to go back if you have tons of videos could take a while. Yep. So even if all you have is sermons and maybe you don't even live stream, you just upload your sermon, make a playlist and go ahead and put all of them in there because that'll make your life better in the future. But try to put every video in a type of playlist so that things can get organized as you make more content.
Yep.
And again, you can always delete stuff in the future if things aren't good or something like that. But organize your playlist and put them on your homepage. Again, you can Google how to do this. It's really simple, but in your YouTube settings. Again, I don't remember the order of ours, but just go look at our YouTube channel and you'll see.
It's easy to figure out.
So that was number 3. Number 4, thumbnails. Now, we all see this now. All of the big YouTube channels have somebody with big text, and it's a person, and those are the ones that everyone likes to see.
Yep.
And Brian's the one that does it currently, so he could tell you how we do it. But again, we also didn't do this until a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And so it was just like a random still shot from the video that you uploaded. And now we have a thumbnail. The recommendation that we would recommend, again, go to big churches on YouTube. They do the same thing. They have a person, typically whoever the main person of the video is, and then they'll have a short description, not just the title, but they'll have a short description on the actual thumbnail itself.
Yep.
And this can be helpful. You don't have to have the title of the video be the same thing as the thumbnail, but because maybe the title's too long or whatever. But you want the text on the title to be interesting. Like, what is God's will for my life? Maybe that could be the title, even though the technically title of the sermon is maybe a little bit different, but you talk about God's will, something like that. Like something that people actually, when they see the image, they're like, I don't know. That sounds interesting to me.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, Brian, how do you do it?
So go look at our YouTube channel to see what I'm talking about. If you're watching this video on YouTube, you'll see that like for practical church planning, we've been doing this for a while, and for some reason we never just bridge the gap to do it for the church. But I have a template that I made in Canva that you can look up. They have templates for YouTube thumbnail size, and so what I'll do is I'll take a still from whatever video we're doing. So if it's a sermon video, I'll just kind of scroll through it until I find a point where Dylan's not making like an awkward face, because obviously someone like mid talking a lot of times looks kind of weird, and just take a screenshot of it or a still from it, upload it, put a little overlay on it, which this all takes like minutes maybe.
I mean, you could look up how to make a YouTube thumbnail. Yes. 10-minute videos, it'll show you.
Yes, and literally it helps put some sort of color overlay on it because that way the text stands out. That's the only reason we do it. So if you look at ours, there's all of them have like a gradient of like one color to like a solid color to opaque, and the only reason is so that over the solid color we can put text and it stands out. If you look at YouTube, I mean, you've seen this before, and the thing about it is as long as it's colorful, as long as it looks nice, that's where people are going to notice the text more than the text along the bottom. Yeah. And that's why people do it, because that's where your eye will notice the color more. And so put the engaging text there, even like you said, even if it doesn't perfectly match, which, I mean, honestly, it probably shouldn't perfectly match. But just make a template for it, and that way every week we have a template for each video, and I can just find a new screenshot of Dylan or of whoever's speaking or whoever's in the video, drop it in, change the text. It looks uniform relatively, and it's super easy to do.
Yep. So and the YouTube title helps people when they're searching on YouTube. I don't think the text on your thumbnail does. No. But but people don't like, if you're scrolling through, you're not really reading the title. You're reading what's on the picture. Yep. Now, a way around this too, if you're like, that sounds complicated, getting a still from the sermon, I don't think it is too complicated, but what you could do is just take some pictures ahead of time of you.
That's true. Yes, I forgot about that.
Have someone just take a picture of you. It's okay if you're not wearing the same shirt or whatever. Just It's a picture of a person. Again, if you're recording or if you record your sermons and maybe we have I don't know, sometime in 2021, earlier this year, we talked about, how to set the camera and stuff up for recording services. So you should listen to that. But let's say your camera's not straight on or you're really zoomed out and it looks not great, then you might want to take a picture or get pictures ahead of time and just have a bank of pictures that you can upload, because if your camera's not in a good angle, then taking a still from it might not look great. So that's a way around that.
That's a good point. So every week, one of our social media posts is Dylan or whoever preaches that week, like a close-up shot or like a picture of them with the bottom line of the message kind of overlaid on it. And we just found that it just didn't look that great for a Facebook post that's image only, to use a still from the message, because obviously the camera's in a different spot. So we
further away.
Yeah, we just once a month, once every 6 weeks or so, Dylan just brings in a whole handful of shirts, and we just get shots of him in all these different shirts. And if they match up, great. If not, no one remembers from Sunday to Tuesday or Wednesday when we post it what he wore. But it makes it so much easier than having to, like you said, go through an hour's worth of message, try and find the perfect shot or anything like that. And so we just have this whole bank of them. And honestly, ever since he shaved his beard and whatever it was, once winter ended, then we just save them, and they're easy to go back to because people don't know what he wore, and it doesn't even really matter. And honestly, Dylan or whoever's preaching matters nothing in the picture, but people want to see faces. That's the only reason we do it. The text is what we want people to see. The bottom line is a reminder of what the message is about. So as long as it's something that people will stop for a second and look at, it's good.
Yep. So thumbnails, you want an image of a person and a short description that's catchy, so people will actually want to click on it, because that's what you've done and what I've done is had no interest in clicking on a video, but the thumbnail looked interesting.
Exactly.
And you watched it.
Yep.
So that's number 4. Number 5 are descriptions. Again, we didn't do this very long. Didn't do this at all.
Oh, not
Again,
at all.
We're halfway through here, so let me just say this might sound overwhelming, but I promise you, if you just put 3-hour block right in our show notes, you can see all 8 of these things. Just go through them one at a time. You can do it. Descriptions are about the video. Now, you might be like, man, I don't know what to say about every single video. Well, the good thing about YouTube is that you can have what's called upload defaults. Again, just Google how to do it. It's simple, where all of your videos automatically have descriptions added to them. So what we do now is for every video, we'll have a 1, 2, 3 sentences at the top talking about what the video is about, because it helps people as they're searching. So typically, let's say you do a video on God's will for your life, and that's the title of the YouTube channel, of the video. Well, also in the description, you want to use those same words because it makes it be searchable. And then under that, we have a couple of dashes and then a whole bunch of stuff that's part of our upload defaults that gets added to every video. So all of our there's a link where they can click to subscribe to our channel. There's our online and social stuff. There's how they can give, and then there's some hashtags like New City Church, Church Online, Bible, whatever. And those are on every single one, and so you don't have to type them out or copy and paste. And so go to YouTube, add some upload defaults. Now this won't reactively. So whatever videos you've already posted, it doesn't add, but going forward, it adds them. And so again, you might be like, I don't know what to put for my upload defaults. Just go to our channel, copy ours for you. That's the place to start.
Change the info,
Or look at other churches. This is one of the things where you can look at big churches. You might not have all the same information as they do, but you can copy theirs and just whatever you have, you can do the same thing, and you can put those in every channel. And again, if in a couple of months or whatever you say, I want to change what's on my upload defaults, just change it. It's really simple. And so you do need to add a description, even if it's just 2 sentences about what the video is about, using keywords that people are interested in searching, and then have an upload default. So every video you have information about your church that people can see.
Yeah, if you spent any time on YouTube, you've seen churches that, not just churches, but anybody who has a channel has a whole block of information, which you probably never read. But it helps it be discoverable. It helps people. It helps it show up in searches. And if it's someone's first time to a channel, they're much more likely to read it. But one thing I'll add as a kind of a sub point, because I'm realizing that we don't have it as a point, and you're the one that did this, so you can talk about it, is tags too. You can do this for.
Yeah, so same thing.
So yeah,
if you go in there and you add tags. Now, as I've been reading all that stuff, there's a debate about how helpful tags actually are.
Okay.
But it does seem to say, people seem to be saying, because even on the YouTube, when you add tags, it's like, this isn't really helpful, only if you misspell things. But the people that I've been watching have been saying, but the more information you can give to YouTube, it's just better. And so there are certain tags. There's up to 500 characters, and so use all of them. I mean, it's not anything bad. And so there are certain tags that we put on every video, like different variations of our church name, online Bible study stuff, sermons. Like there's a handful of stuff, and so if you're going to use those every time, you can also have upload default tags.
Yep.
And then also, if you're doing a book of the Bible, add the book, add the verses, add the questions that you talk about in the sermon. But yeah, with the description, there's also the default tags you can do.
Yeah, and it's like not a single one of these things is gonna completely revolutionize your searches or anything like that. But doing all these together will help. So like tags, if that was the only thing you did, it's probably not gonna make much of a difference. But being that you can have it be like the description where you can just have a block of them that upload to every single video. So it'll take you 5 minutes, and then they'll show up on every video, and it's not gonna be the one thing that revolutionizes your YouTube searches, but if it takes you 5 minutes and can help get a couple subscribers, why not do it?
Yep. And again, if you need the steps, just Google YouTube description upload defaults, and it'll tell you exactly how to do it. Again, new cities, you can just copy ours and change it for your church and start there and do it later. But you want to add descriptions to all of your videos.
Yes.
Makes you more searchable. Number 7, end cards. So this, again, is a very simple thing to do that might look like it's complicated, but it's not. And this is just at the end of the video. People have things pop up on their screen that you can click.
Yep.
And we've started adding some into the videos. We have like this cool little fancy outro that we've done, which again, just watch one of our latest videos. You'll see that's like a 10-15 second thing saying thanks for watching, here's your resubscribe. But even if you don't have like the fancy editing stuff that Brian adds, you can still just put
that fancy.
You can still just put boxes and circles on your screen.
Yep.
And again, just Google how to add end cards. It's really simple. You can add them as you're uploading them, but you can also add them after the fact. So if you have videos that you've uploaded that you never add them to, like some of the more viewed older New City videos or the practical church planning ones, I've gone in and added end cards to them because I get a lot of views. I'm not going to do it for all the videos because that would take forever.
Yeah.
But it can be a specific video. It can be subscribed to your channel. It can be a specific playlist. For us, we typically have our logo that pops up, which is subscribe to our channel, and the playlist that is relevant to the video. So if it's a Bible in a minute, other Bible in a minute videos. If it's a sermon, and you can do a playlist one, it'll link them to the most recent. But you can add those depending on the length of the video. They can be the last 20 seconds or the last 20 seconds or less. So if it's a long video, they'll let you do it for the last 20 seconds. But you can add how long you want it to be at the end of the video or the last 10. If it's a shorter video, I think 10's the max, something like that. But adding end cards to the end, and it's just a couple of clicks every time, encourages people to keep watching your content.
This is like the thing that's, I don't know, to me is like separates a like legit YouTube channel versus non, because I feel like any subject you watch, if it's someone who's like not just like uploading random stuff, but anything you watch, this is how videos end on YouTube, and it's just the way it is. And so they're super easy to, like, you literally have to click a button unless you want to like make a special thing for it. But it's incredibly easy to add. And I think adds a little bit of legitimacy, a little makes the video a little more legitimate looking, but also it helps people subscribe, it helps people click on the next, the playlist and explore your channel a little further. There's literally no downside to it, in my opinion, and so do it. Yep,
adding in cards, it might look fancy. Again, all this stuff, I know it's 8 things at once, so if you've never done it, it might sound overwhelming, but it's not, and it's just such a. Yeah. If I was starting today, I would do these things, and I would also, as quick as I can, record the video of my sermons, not just the audio.
Yeah.
Just because it's searchable, and people, we'll talk about it. Well, I skipped it, so we'll talk about this one next. Like, people just like randomly subscribe to videos to YouTube channels like all the time for no reason.
Yeah.
It's like, and for no reasons. Like, even the small churches that only do like their live stream, like, you'll get these subscribers from like where? And it's like, I don't know, but you'll have them. And so the earlier you start on this, the quicker all these things happen and your searchability. And so, yeah, end cards are an easy thing to do.
Yes.
So I think that was actually number 6, but I skipped one.
Yep.
So this is number 7, and this is the only one that you may not be able to do today, and that is to have a custom URL. So youtube.com/ whatever you want it to be.
Church. Yep.
If you don't have it yet, it's like youtube.com/ with numbers and letters and whatever. Ours is youtube.com/newcityrdu. You can make yours whatever you want. You have to have 100 subscribers in order to do this. Now, if you do these things and you just start uploading videos, you'll just randomly get them.
Yep.
Like, you're not going to get 100. Like, but you will slowly get some, and so it's better than waiting a year and asking people. Like I remember when COVID started, we did the same thing. Everyone was like, "Hey, will you subscribe to our YouTube channel?" And all these churches were like posting on all these church groups about that. And luckily for us, we had enough people that when we made the ask, and we with our own people, we got there. Plus, we already had some subscribers, but you have to have 100 to make a custom YouTube channel URL. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal not to have it because you still have to search the name.
Yeah.
And although this stuff is helpful because if there's other churches and whatever people with similar names than you, you will not show up if you don't have subscribers or anything like that. So you want to start doing these things now. So the longer your church is around, the more easy it is to. And even if you're the only church anywhere near you with the same name, if you're a small channel, you will not come up.
Yeah.
Unless you like literally type in, letter for letter, the name of your church, and maybe even have to add the city.
Yep.
So that's why this is so important. So you need to get 100 subscribers. But I would say this, tell your people, hey, subscribe to my channel, post it on your personal Facebook, tell your friends, it'll happen. And just as you do these things, you will get 100 subscribers quicker than you think you will, even if you don't have 100 people at your church. Because some legitimate people might subscribe, and then just randomly people subscribe to things.
Yeah.
I don't know how. So you want to get a custom URL. Again, if you have 100 subscribers, just Google how to change my custom URL. I think you can only change it like once.
I think so, yeah.
So, again, this is helpful.
Match your stuff.
We talk about, with social media having the same website and URL for all of them, and how it's worth making as if you haven't picked your church name yet, making sure they're available the way that you want. So for us, Facebook, everything is New City RDU. YouTube also New City RDU is helpful. So you also want to kind of consider that. Like, is it the same thing as your website and your social media? That should play a part in what you're trying to do because you don't want it to be some different thing. Again, for us, because we've been around for a while, we have Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and Spotify and all these things that people, and we even have a social media graphic in our pre-post slides, and sometimes it's part of our next steps. And it's just so easy to say New City RDU on everything.
Yep.
I cannot overemphasize how important that is. So just make sure it's consistent and make sure it's something that people use. If you're not sure, let's say you have 100 subscribers and you're not sure what you want it to be, don't just do it. Actually think this through because I don't know if you can change it later.
I feel like you can't. I remember seeing that you can't. And yeah, this is we don't need to rehash all the reasons of why everything should match. But unless you have a very, very, very regional name, some other church has your name. Yep. Unless there's something right where you are that obviously no one else is because you're called My Road Church or something whatever. So, some other church is going to have your name, and if you're a church plant, they're probably bigger, which is fine. And there's bigger churches that have New City Church, but because of the fact that everything is the same name, we don't have to tell people go search for New City Church. In fact, we would never tell someone that because I don't know what they'll find. But we tell them search New City RDU, and so make sure it's all the same handle. And if you don't have 100 subscribers yet, like Dylan said, just ask people. I don't know. I feel like sometimes we overcomplicate things. If you have people in your church, if you have friends, hopefully you have friends that attend your church that you're leading, text them and say, hey, can you go subscribe today? Yeah. It does not need to be this whole big complicated scheme of just.
And a lot of people have old Gmail accounts that they don't use anymore.
Totally.
Just say, hey, can you log in? If you have old ones, can you sign into your old ones?
I think I'm subscribed to New City in 4 different Gmail things because from different works and stuff like that. Yeah. So people will do it. Just ask them.
Yeah. So 100 subscribers. Again, doing these things will help you get there. And because I don't know. I guess now I haven't looked. Maybe after this video, I'll look. If I literally just search New City Church it on YouTube, I'm guessing we'd make it the first page. I don't think we'd be the top because we're not the biggest New City Church in the United States. But previously, if you typed in New City Church, you wouldn't find us at all. You'd find us now, and so that's just not helpful. And so if you typed in New City RDU, it would show up. I don't remember why it would, even before our custom channel, but it just did. But we would have to say New City Church Raleigh.
Yeah.
And so that people can kind of forget that. So.
And if you do these things, obviously, unless you have the same name as an actual, mega church, but if you start doing these things, you're going to be more discoverable if someone just searches your name. If someone searches New City Church, I don't know if we'll be number one, but honestly, it wouldn't surprise me that much if we were. Not because we're the biggest, we're not, but because this is just things that churches neglect, and it's really easy to do, and our stuff is really discoverable now. So don't discount yourself unless your name is literally the most generic church name that there is. You can get to the top of your church search.
Yeah, this is why our very first episode of Practical Church Planning was what to name your church.
Yes.
And I made a joke, and I regret it to this day because I don't think it came across. I made the joke that it's the most important decision, and it's not, and I don't know if people, whatever. But we talked about choosing your name based on churches in your state, like no big mega churches, likely no churches in your state that you can find, big churches. There's a bigger church than us now in North Carolina by the name of New City Church, but they weren't when they launched. It was like a merger thing or whatever. But we're far enough away, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But this is why, like, if your name is Life Church, you're not coming up.
Yeah.
Like, you're not. If your name is Elevation Church or whatever big church it is, because everything is it's not about a competition, but it's about helping people find your church. And so if you're new or if you're in the launch phase and you haven't planted yet and you have a really popular named church, I think it would be wise to consider changing it.
Oh, 100%.
Because you're not
100%.
going to be found. You're not going to be found. And again, it's not about competition, about being better, but it's about your people in your church finding your stuff or the people in your area finding your stuff. And again, YouTube doesn't seem to, I'm sure there's some weight on geography, but it's a search engine. And so if they just type in church names, there's a lot of churches. Again, it's not about having a unique church name, but I think in that first episode, if you haven't listened to it, go all the way back in the beginning. We talk about things like social media handles and URLs being the same, but also no big churches close to you.
Yep.
Hopefully in your state have the same name, but just so people can find you. And if you have a really, really, used church name, this is going to be harder for you.
Well, YouTube, any search engine, their goal is to give you the most relevant and best results for your search. And so if you're, just as an example, if your church is named Life Church or Life, or very similar to that, the best content they can give you is going to be Life Church. Like, it's not going to be your church, it's going to be Life Church because their content is great. Not that they're a better church, but their content specifically for YouTube is going to be of higher quality. And so that's what they're going to be given. And so it's going to hurt you in a lot of different ways if you don't have it. It doesn't have to be the most unique thing in the world. It doesn't have to mean that no other church can have it. But if you don't at least take into account what other churches have the name that you're choosing.
That's right.
That was a little bit of a side, tangent, but it's important.
Yep. You want to try to have something. As you were talking, I was thinking of something, but now I can't remember it. So anyway,
it'll come to you.
Think about your church name, and so that people can actually find who you are.
Exactly.
And last but not least, this one takes a little bit of more work, but you can absolutely do it. Yep. If you actually want to grow your YouTube channel, here's what we would recommend. Create one, it has to be one, consistent, so not every once in a while.
Every week.
Non-sermon video, ideally a week.
Yep.
So your live stream and your sermon is fine, but it doesn't, in this situation, it would not count. Now, we've done various things for it.
Oh, so many things.
Now, here's what, as of this recording, what we do every week. We have our live stream, which, whatever, it doesn't really count. So we upload our sermon.
Yep.
But on top of that, we have two other videos that we do every week. One is the sermon clip or the message clip, whatever you want to call it, which is just taking a short clip from the sermon, which is not any extra content, but it's just an extra video to upload. And you can, change the you don't want the thumbnail and the title to be the same thing as the sermon. You want it to be around.
Which gets a little tricky.
Yeah.
You can figure it out.
But you want it to be around the point and make it as clickable as possible.
Yep.
Or as interesting as possible. So we do the sermon clip. So we have outside the service. We have the sermon clip, and then we have the Bible in a minute. We've done a lot of iterations of stuff, and so this is what we're doing now. It's like 75 seconds or shorter every week, which according to you, it's better on for Facebook, you don't watch long videos, but for YouTube, they want you to have like long videos for stuff. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to connect with people. Yeah. So we do those every week, a message clip and a Bible in a minute. And then, we have videos we do, I don't know, almost at least once a month, it seems we have some sort of extra video we do with our church that we put up there. But for you, it could be a lot of different things. Now, what's interesting about all of this stuff is, I think back in November or whatever, or this past fall, one of the things we tried was like an online Bible study. And I was going through James, and it was like 20 minutes of stuff. And I was like, I stopped doing it because it wasn't getting a lot of views and just didn't seem worth it. And now I've gone back, and some of our larger viewed videos are that. And a part of the problem was we weren't doing any of these things, and so it just didn't seem worth the time.
Yeah.
But if we were doing these things, it's not like it would not have blown up at all, but it would have gotten more engagement because we're going through the book of James. It's content on one book, online Bible study stuff. It's very searchable, but we didn't do any of this. And so it could be, again, copy us. If you want to do a Bible in a minute, or maybe not call it that, or you can if you want, but whatever. But like some quick, easily consistent thing, that's what will help you also, get more subscribers, get your name out on YouTube because you have more content. It just needs to be consistent. And so whether it's a quick Bible study that takes 5 or 10 minutes, it's okay if it's just a single shot on you. It doesn't have to be fancy. If it's a short thing about the Bible verse, if it's like describing, what things mean in the Bible, like biblical terms and theology or whatever, or it doesn't even have to be spiritual, whatever.
Yeah, true.
If you could do one consistent non-sermon video a week, that will help you connect. It'll help you improve what you're doing better and grow your channel faster than just uploading your sermon every week.
And this is like we said before, you don't need to wait until you have the greatest idea to start this. Like we've probably unlisted a bunch, but we've gone through so many different ideas because we'll have an idea and we do it. Like, and some of them were great and some of them were not great. But if you just sit and wait until you have like this epiphany of, if we're going to do this video series and it's going to just blow up and it's going to be great, you're just never going to do it.
Yep.
And so just start with something. And whether that something is, I've seen churches just like the pastor talking to the camera and kind of diving deeper into a topic from the message on Sunday.
Yep.
Which like that's an easy one because you've already prepped on it. Or like we do of just like take a Bible verse. And we have no rhyme or reason. It's literally any Bible verse and talk about it for a minute. Like you can figure out things to do, but I think the worst thing of any of this you can do is just to wait until you have it all figured out. Start something. If down the road you feel like the stuff you uploaded in the past are poor quality and don't reflect the church anymore, get rid of them.
Yep.
And no harm, no foul. But like it's just going to hurt you to sit and wait longer and longer.
That's what as I was working through this last month or so, I went and I deleted a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
just the quality wasn't great.
Yeah.
And even if you go to our New City's YouTube channel and just click videos, you'll see a bunch of videos and a couple of playlists that aren't on our homepage because they're older, but they got some views, and so I've just left them or whatever. But you don't see on our homepage, and maybe the video quality is not the greatest, but it's just there for now. And you can do stuff like that. You can always delete stuff later or try something out. The Bible in a Minute, we've gone through a lot of iterations, which led us to that. And so just start something, try it for a couple of weeks, and then try something again. nobody's like, it reminds me of like when people, blogging is not really a thing much anymore.
Yeah.
But people, especially like 10, 15, even a couple, 5, 6 years ago, people would like blog and then they would stop and then they'd be like, blog again, and like, I'm so sorry, like apologize that it's been like a month or two, and I'm always like, nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody but your mom is sitting there waiting for it.
No one's like, please apologize for not writing this. And so, just do what you can do. If it's not that great, the only way to get better is to do it. And so our channel, again, as it's recording, we don't have the most amazing stuff at all. That's just why I think it's helpful for you to look it up, because everything we do is very repeatable.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's not high production value. It's a camera and a mic and us doing our thing. So the challenge is if you can create one consistent non-sermon video a week. All of this goes back to, I'm not a fan of the whole pastors are busy or anybody's busy. What do you mean by that? It's just, are you going to put it on your calendar every week? You could do this in an hour or 2 hours a week, and the long-term return on the investment on that will be really, really solid. So one non-consistent sermon video a week if you want bonus points to grow your channel faster.
Yep, and you can. This is something you can start now if you have a phone. Like you don't need a high-tech camera. You don't need to. Like we've kind of gone back and forth a little bit in the past. We've done things with like a lot more graphics in them and stuff. And right now we don't do much like other than captions, just because we found that it wasn't worth the time investment. And so you don't need to wait until you've like got someone who can do all this for you. But you can take it on your phone. You can cut it on your phone. You can do literally everything from your phone and upload it from there. And then as you get a little more comfortable with the technology or a little bit bigger budget, whatever, then you can kind of move into other things. But if you have the ability to record anything, in other words, if you have a YouTube channel now, you can do this. Like that means that if you have one, that means that you're recording something and you have some means of doing it, which translates to this is for you. Like there's no excuse to not do it. You can start this tomorrow. And
again, it might be overwhelming because I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to do all these things. But it doesn't have to be great. And it's not true that you can't. It's just that you don't currently know how to do it. And so if you want to figure it out, you can do it. It doesn't have to be the most amazing. As I've been looking at this stuff, I've been looking up YouTube channels, and some of these people, like not necessarily churches, but just people. Like this one guy, I've seen him do some stuff. He's got like 10 or 15,000 subscribers. He's a Christian, whatever. I don't even know his name. I actually honestly don't really like his videos because it's one of those bashing pastors and worship leaders, and I'm like, why? You don't even. What are you doing here? But his setup, it looks like a phone, and he's in front of this backdrop, and it's the same thing the whole time. He doesn't use side clips. It's literally him. I think he has some like hard cuts, but that's it. Like there is nothing, and he's got like 15,000 subscribers.
Wow, crazy.
Now again, it's easier to grow a personal channel than a church channel.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be amazing, and you can do just basic stuff. Put the camera in front, just do some hard cuts if it's you stumbled over your words or you have a gap or whatever, and you will get better as you do it. So you can create one consistent non-sermon. Not only will it grow your channel faster, it'll help you figure things out faster. And there's probably a good chance someone at your church might like to do or might like doing some of this stuff. So maybe you can get some help.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, ask around. If you have a church of more than like 5 people, I guarantee there's someone who at least not necessarily has a background in it, but has interest in learning.
Yep.
And that's what we found. I mean, not just with me, but like with other people too, that people didn't necessarily have any, I don't know, didn't really walk into the picture with any talent in it, but wanted to learn it. Mm-hmm. And you'd be surprised how many people have an interest in this. And honestly, there's so many free resources to learn it. You can learn it, and you can help other people learn it.
It's one of those things for people. Some people really like this stuff, and they never think that they can use that to help their church.
Absolutely.
And so you might find that there. So those are 8 YouTube tips to drastically improve your channel. I hope that you're not overwhelmed. I would just look at our show notes, write down that list of 8, put on your calendar, and just go through one at a time. Yep. You'll improve them. Again, subscribe to Practical Church Planting. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to watch the videos. Subscribe to New City's channel if you want to. I mean, not just because you're there for this initial thing, but if you want to continue to see what we do, and as we tweak things, because we're tweaking things all the time, it might be helpful if you subscribe so you can see those videos and see what we're doing for thumbnails. So that's New City RDU. And if you found this helpful, again, if you're at the launch phase of your church and you want to grow your launch team and you want an actual practical workable plan, practicalplanting.com/launch. And I know we created the course, but I think it's literally one of the best investments you can make because it's not about theology or philosophy, but it's like, how do you take what you're supposed to do into a plan that people will actually get behind and to grow your team?
Yep.
So thanks for listening. We'll be with you next time on Practical Church Planting.